Hello, everyone, and welcome to Claret and Booze. My name's Nick, and this is my daily ramble. A very late daily ramble, a post-dinner daily ramble. I hope you're all well. Kids are back at school this week. Life is good. Life is good. I'm going to miss them. Nah, not really. But yeah, so what we're going to talk about today. Well, before we do, actually, as always, not going to let you get away with that one. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We're fast approaching 8K. So if you're a long-term viewer and you haven't yet got an account, just sign up for one. It don't cost anything. And then just click subscribe, hit that bell notification button. It does really help us. And don't forget, drop a like on the video because, again, it does help us. Okay, the Qatari bid. Now, this has been floating around for some time. We first floated this idea, which is what it was, probably around about 18 months ago. And that was us putting two and two together. Because if you look at the property in and around our stadium, there is a lot of it that's owned by Qatari DR. So if you look at the Olympic, the Athletes Village, you know, East Village, I think it's called now, that's owned by Qatari DR. There's plenty of it around there with Qatari investment. So, and we know that the Qataris want a piece of the action in the Premier League. They have done for a while. You know, I know that the Saudis have only recently invested, but there is interest from Middle Eastern clubs to invest in the Premier League and get a piece of the action. We know that. The Qataris are looking like being next. Now we know that they were front runners with Jim Ratcliffe to take over, or they were bidding to take over at Manchester United. You know, with bids approaching $6 billion, but that's all gone. That's all been blown out of the water now. You know, they've been stringing those guys along since October last year, I think it is. So they've just been wasting everyone's time. But look, Man United's loss looks like it could end up being West Ham's gain. Now we received information probably around about a year ago, I think it was now. We had a conversation with a few people that did say categorically that the Qataris were, whether it was Sheikh Jassim, I don't know, but there was Qatari interest in West Ham. Solid interest. Not just Qataris, there was American investors, there was all sorts of investors that were keen on buying the club. But as we know, with the embarrassment clause, there wasn't gonna be a sale until that expired because there was going to be a penalty for Golden Sullivan. You know, a big chunk of their profits would have gone to the LLDC. So selling the club was always on the agenda, and there have always been buyers out there. There have been, but no bids happened because everybody was aware. Everybody was aware of the situation with that clause. So fast forward, you know, embarrassment clause expires. David Gold sadly passes away. His shares and his estate goes into probate. Still in probate now. It's not done. It's not sorted. So however long that takes is how long it's going to take for us to sell this club. But as I've been led to believe, I don't think it's going to be as far away as we all thought, because, you know, these things, especially when you're talking a guy with that much wealth, these things can be held in probate for an awful long time. But apparently, it's not going to be as far away. This is going to be resolved quicker than we think. Now, there are still people interested in buying the club other than the Qataris. We know that. It was always kind of going to be that was Sullivan's dream, you know, to sell it for a huge profit to Saudi. I think he wanted to do a Newcastle, but look, Man United kind of put themselves up for sale around about the time our embarrassment clause was well, just before. That weren't set to expire until March, and they put it up for sale. They put Man United up for sale in the October before that. So it kind of threw the cat amongst the pigeons, so to speak, because everybody kind of diverted their attention to Man United. A very different investment when you look at it. You know, 6 billion versus 1 billion, but they're a huge club. You know, they're already established. Whoever comes in and buys West Ham has got to pump a lot of money into it to kind of turn us into that, or try to, you know. Now, obviously, now that deal has fallen through, it's been well documented in the in the press that the Qataris will turn their attention elsewhere in the Premier League. Now, we know that West Ham are actively looking to sell. We know that. Sullivan will deny that. Of course he will, via his usual sources. He's not going to say the club's for sale. He's not going to let you know if somebody is bid. He's not going to do that. But they are looking to sell. It's as simple as that. And we have received some information, not through the normal channels, to say that there has been interest, not just from the Qataris, but from someone else actively doing some digging. Whether or not a bid has already been made and accepted, I don't know. But there's been contact made with the LLDC in relation to buying the stadium. So there's been talks on that. There's been talks around that as well, because that's the other big thing. You know, it was always going to be a bit of a stumbling block, the fact that we didn't own our stadium. But everybody knows that, you know, with the right offer, we can buy it. We can buy the stadium, because the land in and around that stadium is worthless, because we've got such a long lease. So it's obviously going to get sold to West Ham at some point, but not by Sullivan. He's got too much of a good deal in terms of rent and everything else. So it looks definite. It's not just talk. The Qataris are interested. They are queuing up a bid, or they've already bid. They're interested. They have been speaking to our owners. So I've been told. Now these things ain't always going to take as long as what the Man United tender took. Well, like I say, October last year. It was October last year, which is ridiculous. You know, it never takes that fucking long. Obviously, Man United were just messing people around, or they were just trying to squeeze more money out of the deal. I don't know, but I think if somebody flashes 800 million to 900 million at Sullivan, he's gonna bite their hands off. You know, he'll be off sailing around the world with bouncy boobs, won't he? That's what he'll be doing. So he will be. You know, he's not going to hang about. I think if he gets offered a huge sum of money, he will go. Obviously, there are other factors. You know, you've got the other key stakeholders in Kretinsky and the other guys that we've got on the board that have all got stakes in the club. But we know that Kretinsky is just interested in a quick flip. That's kind of what he does. He wants to make an investment. He's already got quite a large stake in another club in I think it's Sparta. Is it? Yeah, one of the Sparta clubs anyway in the Czech Republic. That's where his heart is. You know, this is all about an investment opportunity for Kretinsky in much the same way that the post office is and people like that. So I do think that there is definitely something in this. The Qataris are very, very serious. If you look at the bid that Jim Ratcliffe put in at Man United, even though he's the wealthiest man in Britain, he was going to be 69%. He was going to be the major shareholder, so he was only going to buy 69% of the club. Whereas the Qataris weren't interested in that. They wanted to go in, bang, 100%, it's ours. We want to own this club. That's what they'll do if they buy West Ham. They'll buy the lot. If people want to stick around, you know, even if Sullivan, if part of the deal is that he's an honorary chairman or something like that with no saying anything, I don't know. But there is definitely something in this now. We've all been saying it, haven't we? We've all been saying for a long, long time that there's something funny. Well, not a long, long time. The last probably year, something's funny at West Ham. Something isn't right. Something's going on. And that kind of, with the introduction of Tim Steidten as well, which is something that David Sullivan has never done. He's never gone out and got a director of football, somebody to come in and do what Tim Steidten is doing. And there has been a bit of a to-ing and fro-in as well between Tim Steidten, Sullivan and Moyes, by the looks of it. You know, publicly, Brady and Sullivan will only back Moyes. They will. He's their man. It does make you wonder whether or not Tim was a plant, whether he was put in place to make sure that the sale of our biggest asset, the money that was made from that, was reinvested properly, correctly. Maybe that was a stipulation. We don't know. Maybe he was planted. We'll never know. But it is a bit weird that this has happened now. You know, it is. Or maybe it's just due diligence from Sullivan making good business sense to make sure that he doesn't mess up again because he's looking to sell. So I'll pay someone to come in and make sure it's done properly. Maybe that's what's happened. We'll never know. Well, I suspect we will know one day very soon, I hope. But like I say, things are changing. Something big is afoot. I do think that we are going to get our new owners. Now, this really excites me. Now, obviously, there's going to be a big conversation piece around the owners. If it ends up being the Qataris, there's an awful lot of people that are not going to like that. I accept that. You know, I mean, if I had my way, it'd be Jim Ratcliffe all day long. But when you think about it, he was going out to buy Man United, who are the club that he supports. What, you know, that was his dream. It wasn't just owning a football club. He wanted to buy Man United. You know, why is he going to want to kind of go, oh, I can't have Man U, I'll go and buy West Ham? Why would you do that? So I don't think there's anything in that. I've got to be honest. I know he's been linked. And like I say, that would be my preference, that type of investor. But look, if the Qataris are coming in for us and they're looking at doing Similar with our club to what has happened, up in Manchester with Man City. Same with what the Saudis are doing in Newcastle as well. They don't just they look after the local area. They pump loads of money into the infrastructure. They really do focus on the football. I think it could probably be an amazing step for the club. Now, look, we already sold our soul when we left Upton Park. That West Ham has gone. It's died. I've always said you can't go back. You can't. I wish I could, because if I could snap my fingers, bang, I'd be back there now. But you can't. We're now in a stadium, whether you like it or loathe it. It's a huge arena. This is a stadium for a big, big club. That is what that is. And long term, success is going to be demanded by 60,000, 66,000 paying customers as we are. It is. It's as simple as that. Entertainment and success. So long term, entertainment will also become a factor as well, because we'll never get away from that. I know we've had people saying style doesn't matter. Yes, it does. We're West Ham. Style does matter. So that's going to take money. That's going to take investment. We can't go back. You can't stand still. And there's only one way forward for West Ham. And I think that this is going to be it. Now, it is going to be a bit of a lottery. It always is when you're going out there. We've got no say in it. But whoever buys this club, it's a lottery whether they're going to be great owners or terrible owners. We don't know. But I've had enough of Sullivan. I've had enough. I'm happy to roll the dice. I'm happy to go on whatever journey this takes us now. Like I say, we've already kind of we haven't just got like one foot out the door when we left Upton Park. We jumped out of the car and we slammed the door behind us. You can't turn back. We've got to go forward. In the Premier League, it's all about money. It is all about money. I know we've got a couple of clubs that are doing it differently. If you look at Brighton and you look at Brentford, but these clubs are never going to be really successful. They're not. And at some point, with the model that they run, they're going to have a bastard summer where their algorithm doesn't work and they go out and they buy a load of duds, and they're not going to have the money and the funds to rectify it, because they're not. So I do believe that the likes of Brentford and Brighton, as good as they are and as well run as they are, they're going to have bad seasons coming up. And when they have bad seasons, then their Premier League status is going to be under threat. Whereas that's not the case. When you're a top team, if you have a bad season, it just means you've dropped outside the top four, And that's where I think that we're heading. Now, look, it's not going to be easy. Whoever buys West Ham and wants to turn us into a top four team, they're going to be looking around the rest of the Premier League and thinking, money isn't going to buy you immediate success. Chelsea have just proven that. They've gone out and they've spent $1 billion across 2 windows, and they're no better. If anything, you could argue they're worse. So it has to be done the right way. You think that the Qataris, I know that, again, it's different, but you would like to think that these guys will learn from, their colleagues' failures at PSG, where they've just gone out there throwing money after money after money at Mbappe and Neymar, going out and getting these superstars in. No guarantee of success. You've got to put the infrastructure in. That's what I think they're doing at Newcastle. I think Newcastle they're starting from the ground up. They got a bit of a head start last year, but I think that they overachieved. That was kind of ahead of schedule for them. I think they're trying to lay the building blocks, they're putting the infrastructure in place, and they're trying to grow as a club properly, which is what you do. It's how you should do it. Man City did the same. They didn't turn into this Man City overnight. They didn't. So I would like to think that whichever owners come in now, however rich they are, will realise that you can't do a Ted Bowley. You can't, because you can't do it in the Premier League. There are no guarantees. There are no guarantees. But look, this is exciting times for me. It really is. I've been wanting Sullivan out for an awful long time. It would mean a lot of changes at the club. A lot of the gripes that we've got with the stadium we could see light at the end of the tunnel, because we would be owning that stadium. Potentially redeveloping it. Redeveloping the extra, owning and redeveloping the area around the outside of it as well. So it would all start to feel more like West Ham as well, if the owners have got their wits about them in terms of appealing to the fan base. And from what we've seen at Newcastle and at Manchester City, that's exactly what you get. They do want to be liked. They want it to be a success. They realise that it's a spectator sport, that it's an entertainment, and they will want to sort of put back into the local community. So I think, look, I don't think it's going to be a bad move. I'm all for it. At the end of the day, you can't go pulling the moral high ground card at the moment. Look who our owners currently are. Let's face it. So, yeah, I've had enough of this lot. I've had enough of a lot with West Ham at the moment, so a change would be amazing. A change would be refreshing. We've also got a head start on where Newcastle were when the Saudis came in. We've already got the foundation of a fantastic team. We really have. We've got the foundation of a top team already. Probably another £100 million investment to fill in the gaps that we've got at the moment. And dare I say it, a change of manager, which always comes when a new board come in. It does, unfortunately. So, yeah, that'll be another symptom of the takeover that many will struggle to live with, but not me. I'm looking forward. Look, I'm just quite excited about it all. Like I say, I've been seeing these news stories coming out. We've been hearing it for about 18 months. But the conversations and the information that we've had over the past few days now has really encouraged me. So, like I say, there are no guarantees. These things don't happen overnight, but also they don't stretch and take as long as what they have with Man United either. Because we actually want to sell our club. We do. And we know the reason why we haven't yet. And that's because David Gold's shares are being held in probate. But it's not going to last forever. So anyway, look, let me know what your thoughts are on this potential takeover. Would you be happy with the Qatari bid and then becoming our new owners? You know, what would it mean for West Ham? Do you think we'd be challenging really quickly? Do you think we'd do a Newcastle, be up in the top 4 next year, or even this season if it was to go through by January? You know, who knows? Who knows? These things can move quickly. They can. So look, I'm quite excited. Like I say, don't listen to all the noise. I mean, there's nothing that we can. Nobody's going to confirm it. So Sean Whetstone, you know, he gets his information from Brady and Sullivan. They're not going to tell him that there's a bid or that it's being sold. It's not going to happen. So, it's quite exciting. It's quite exciting. So watch this space. I think West Ham, with Man United doing what they've just done, I think West Ham have just hit the jackpot. Come on, you Irons.